huge win for dog lovers across the country because the Supreme Court has decided to reverse or to change its earlier order, which had said that stray dogs from the Delhi-NCR region will have to be picked up and kept in shelters permanently. Now the strays will have to be sterilized, dewormed, vaccinated, and released back to their original areas. But this isn't a story about animals, although on the face of it, it does seem like it's about compassion for animals. It's also about public health, it's about safety, it's about compassion, and it's about finding a solution that works for both the animals and the humans that now occupy the same urban areas. So that's what we're going to deal with today. We're going to also take a step back and take a look at the entire problem and figure out if we've adequately found a solution for that problem. So I'm asking for compassion here from the dog lovers to sort of give us some room to really discuss all of the merits of this case. Remember, like, share, subscribe, and sign up for our membership if you can. It will really help us do a better job and help us financially. Let's take a look at what the Supreme Court has ordered today. It reversed the decision. Like I told you, dogs will now be picked up, sterilized, vaccinated, dewormed, and released back into their areas unless they have rabies or are suspected to be rabid or aggressive. Then they will not be released. Feeding on the streets is completely banned. Municipal bodies must set up dedicated feeding areas in each ward. Notice boards will have to be put up. People found feeding stray dogs will face action. There will be helplines set up to report violations. Obstructing officials will invite prosecution. Now, like had been pointed out by Maneka Gandhi, who is a former union minister and a accepted animal lover, she had said the previous order was completely impossible to implement. You can't pick up so many dogs and house them in the same shelter. They will become aggressive because they've been taken away from their territories. It's impossible to find the money to feed all these dogs or to find the people to look after them. This order is more scientific. It makes more sense. It's more humane. But let's take a step back and take a look at the whole picture as to how we got here to begin with. Delhi alone has 10 lakh stray dogs. Dog bite incidents in Delhi went from 6,600 in 2022 to 25,000 in 2024. That's a jump of over 200%. Now, all over the country, India recorded 3.7 million dog bite cases in 2024 alone. That's over 10,000 a day. Now, again, there has to be a distinction here between the rabies problem and the dog bite problem. So the rabies problem, if we look at, there are fewer cases, although they are almost always fatal. Dog bites, there are millions of cases annually from territorial and often very frightened dogs. And, the argument that it is not the dog's fault is accepted. But the fact that we have to find a solution is still on the table. Now, in 2024, India officially reported 54 human rabies deaths. Now, WHO estimates the true figure to be much higher, between 18,000 and 20,000 per year, making India home to about a third of the fatalities from rabies every year. Not every bite causes rabies, but rabies is a risk if an infected dog bites you. There's no cure for rabies, and it almost always results in death. But it's 100% preventable if the dog is vaccinated, and apparently if humans get timely post-bite treatment, they can be safe as well. What does the Indian law actually say about this? We already have a law about it. The Prevention of Cruelty to Animals Act 1960 is the cornerstone of the animal welfare law in India, although I must point out, people say that it is too soft on people who are abusing animals. Animal Birth Control Rules 2023 already say municipalities need to sterilize, vaccinate, and release the animals back into their normal territory. And constitutional duty, Article 51AG, makes it a fundamental duty of every every citizen to show compassion to animals. Now, let's take a step back and look at what other countries are doing. Now, Singapore has a tap, neuter, release program, microchipping the animals, putting them up for adoption. UK and New York have a far harsher system. If a dog is unclaimed, unadopted, they found it on the street, it will be kept in a shelter for a week, 10 days. There's a certain period after which it's often euthanized or put down. Turkey 2024 law requires the removal of strays, has adoption drives, but also allows euthanasia of sick and aggressive dogs. In Switzerland, strict ownership rules, abandoning pets could mean jail. And this is an angle, that we don't have in India, which is really important. People who actually bring dogs home, sometimes from a breeder, and then decide that they can no longer look after that dog, just abandon that dog on the street. Like my dog was abandoned by someone on the street when there was an NGO that got her, looked after her, and then we adopted her. So she's a rescue as well. So that in many parts of Europe, there are very strong laws involving jail time. And I think in Switzerland, fines up to 50 lakh rupees, if I'm not mistaken. Very high fines for people who abandon their dogs. And there are ways to find out, because these dogs are ID'd and chipped, and that may be something that we should bring into India, where we make people who have dogs at home more accountable for looking after their dogs, vaccinating their dogs, maybe also taking responsibility if the dog is too aggressive, and abandoning dogs should be a serious problem. Now, the way forward, strays, remember, or indies will remain territorial even after sterilizing and vaccination. So feeding is being regulated. The designated areas that the court has talked about will also require dogs of different territories to eat together. That's something that's going to work up to be a challenge, and municipalities now carry the burden of actually implementing these drives adequately. The Supreme Court has effectively hit a pause button on that completely unworkable mass shelter plan, and moved India back to a science-based humane approach. But it'll actually boil down to implementation, and India does have a problem. We have a problem of what we call stray dogs, because dogs are not being attended to, in the sense that they're being allowed to breed on the streets, which is why we have so many dogs on the street. We also have a lot of garbage, which provides food for these animals, and that's why they're breeding and becoming territorial. These are various solutions that we can look at. While you're watching at home, you could also perhaps consider adopting dogs. That might also be a massive solution. Remember, indie dogs are resilient, they're intelligent, they're loving, and they don't fall sick as often. And of course, as we know, dogs from breeders are actually not a great place to get dogs, because it creates a market for actually treating those female dogs really, really badly. So there are many things on this table right now about the approach the Supreme Court has taken. What it's done effectively is stopped what could have been a terrible idea, but we need to come up with better ideas on how to solve for this problem in a way that is responsible in the long term towards the dogs and the humans who occupy the same space.